Good evening, everyone. This is DebraSue with Toledo to the World. I'd like to thank all of you for joining our podcast tonight. We actually have a very, very interesting and very pertinent conversation to talk about today. So, wherever you are, pull up a chair, grab some hot cocoa or some coffee or whatever your delight is, and come on into the room and join us. Especially folks who like to talk about real life experiences, folks who like to talk about solutions, folks who just want to do better in life. And sometimes it doesn't happen as quickly as we like for it to happen. But, the idea is to pursue your dreams and to pursue livelihood and what makes you happen. Today, I am walking and welcoming to the stage Natasha Denise. I met her at an event that we both attended together, and her story was just so very interesting to me. And I see her as a young woman of courage. I see her as a young mother who does and is doing what she needs to do to make sure her children are in a safe space and a space where she can work hard to do better for her children, which is what we all wish to do. Welcome to the show, Natasha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So happy that you can make it. I really feel that, first of all, let me say you are a beautiful young lady.
Thank you so
I
much.
thought you were just a knockout at the event that we attended. And when you told me your story, I literally I couldn't believe it. I thought, the old saying, it's a good thing we don't look like what we've been through.
For real. That is so accurate.
But you know what? I really applaud you for taking your circumstances and improving and doing something better. And I think for some of us who are very, complacent in life, when circumstances arise, and I'm talking to my audience, could you see yourself going to a different situation and starting over? Could you do that and start over and be perfectly okay with it? And a lot of us would find that very hard to do. And so let's get some insight from Natasha to see how she has done it. And let's first talk about her circumstances. Natasha, are you still there?
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay. So Natasha, let me let you tell your story first, okay?
Okay. Well, I don't know where actually to start, but I was born here in Toledo. My dad moved us to Memphis when I was around 6 years old. I graduated college at 16. I was ready to get out of there.
Mhm.
Um, Sadly to say, me and my father did not have the greatest of relationships, but I was still a daddy's girl. But due to his own trauma from growing up in Vietnam, things were kind of hectic. He was very overprotective, emotionally abusive, physically abusive. So I was ready to get out of there. I graduated when I was 16. Then I got pregnant because at 17, had my oldest. His name's Mikey. And
Mhm.
let's fast forward to about 2 years ago. I
Mhm.
started dating a man, my youngest daughter's father,
Mhm.
and he was a recovering heroin addict when I first met him. I didn't really understand the magnitude of what that meant when I started dating him, but months in, the narcissism came out, the abuse. It wasn't physical abuse, it was emotional, the gaslighting and everything. And he put in my head that because I was a woman, that a single mother that had multiple fathers for her children, that no one else would want me. Now, when I met this man, he was a customer at the restaurant I worked at, and he came off just so charming. Just like, hey, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Here's my card. I'd love to take you out. And it's always those men, that come up to you like that they come off as just Prince Charming, and then later on, the skin, it comes off, all of it, the
Mhm.
layers. And that's what happened. And it seemed like everything happened all at once. His addiction got worse. I got pregnant. Towards the end of my pregnancy, I had a lot of issues, medical issues, because of stress. I wasn't eating well, and I was just doing everything on my own. I had to quit working at some point because it got that bad, and I took him back multiple times. Then things got physical. I called the police. This was in Tennessee. I called the police multiple times. They were no help. And I don't pull a racist card ever because I've never really had to deal with racism myself, being of a lighter skin color. Some people say, I don't know why, but
Mhm.
um, I never had to deal with that. But I was living in a town that was known for racism, and they did have like the white supremacist meetings there and everything. So that could be a factor. But I would have them come out there and they would side with him. And this man, he would scratch his face and say I assaulted him when it was the
Wow.
other way around. And
Mhm.
I kept going back to him over and over. But it was this one instance. I was 38 weeks pregnant and with my first girl. And I still, they gave us both a printout of the police report, and they told me that he says he lives there. I said he doesn't. He says she said, and I could choose to go to the commissioner and file my own charges. I wasn't going to do anything, and I remember I was sitting with a friend eating, and he called. My
Mm.
daughter's father called, and he just started making all these threats, telling me, I know what you're doing. I saw you. Like he was actually watching my house. And I found out that he had snuck into the house actually when I was there, to get into my iPad, to message people. He saw all of my messages. It was horrible. But it was the one thing he said to me. He said, I'm going to get that girl, meaning our daughter, and take her from you. And
Mm.
that was the reality check for me, that I'm not just living this. It's not just me, it's my children and my daughter. I didn't want my daughter to see her mother getting mistreated. And I really am, I just feel so regretful that even my boy saw it, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. But it just
Mhm.
took that in me. And so I rushed to the police station. Luckily, I found a commissioner that was willing to press charges and give me an order of protection. I can't say the order of protection worked, and it's not even all his fault. It's a process, I guess, with domestic violence and gaslighting and manipulation that we keep going back for some reason. And I didn't
You
go
you
back.
know let me interject a thought here because I think this is a question that folks would be interested in knowing. Okay, this sounds like a script out of a movie. I'll be honest with you.
All my
You
friends tell me that
yeah,
I am a Lifetime movie. So,
literally, it sounds like a Lifetime movie. You have a situation that you're trying to get out of. Unfortunately, you tried to leave several times, Natasha, and he allegedly came into your home, okay, went through your things, threatened to take your daughter, allegedly, okay. What on earth would make you repeatedly go back to this guy?
you see, I still ask myself that to this day. And I've gotten to the point where I'm looking this up. Like, I want to know what's deeper inside myself. So I stop this cycle, because this isn't the first man that has mistreated me. This is just the worst that has gotten, kind
Mhm,
of way. But I loved him. And with my past, with my father, we have to realize that there's also trauma that we don't really know that's there until it's
mhm.
triggered. And
Absolutely.
there's so many times in our lives where, like you said, my life is like a Lifetime movie. I grew up watching these movies and being like, girl, why are you going back to this man? Ain't
Mhm,
no way would I ever let a man do me like this.
mhm.
Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I was just like, yes, girl, yes. I feel like I can, like, I feel like I could really um, relate to her character in
Mhm,
my
mhm,
life because of
mhm,
all of this. So I loved him.
mhm,
And doing that research on myself and why I'm the way I am, and doing the research wondering why my father was the way he was, helped me better understand myself and why it happens. And because I'm always so used to wanting to please, and I'm always in fight or flight mode, and I don't like confrontation, and I just want to be loved. That kind of feeling of wanting to be loved. Don't I didn't think I deserved better. He loved my children, he kept coming back. They all roll up into this just one ball of, okay, maybe he did mean he's sorry. Maybe he is going to be clean next week. Maybe it is all in my head,
mhm.
and so I kept going back until I couldn't anymore. It was literally killing me inside, emotionally and physically.
Yeah. And this wasn't, as you said, this wasn't your first abusive relationship. It was a pattern for you.
Yes.
And I think probably your wake up call was your kids. You know, when we as women have sons and, there's an abuse in the relationship, at some point we wake up, or we should wake up and say, is this the kind of man I want my son to be?
Yes.
Or how about this? When my son gets older, will he think that it's normal for him to abuse me or to yell and hit his mom? And I say that because these are patterns that we see in some children nowadays. They think it's normal to abuse the mother because the father or the man in the relationship abuses the mother, and there's got to be a way to break that chain in some instance. And for you, in this instance, I think you were able to do some self research and research on
Yes.
your own, and you were able to evaluate yourself to say, hey, you know what, I'm done with this, and I don't want my child, my sons, to grow up and think that this is normal. That's admirable on your part. People would look at you, Natasha, and say, this is insane. This woman is absolutely gorgeous. Why on earth would anyone want to abuse such a pretty girl? But narcissism does not know
It
love
does
that
not.
way.
It does
Mm-mm.
not. And I've had to do a lot of research because a lot of people think narcissism is just someone that is all about themselves. That
Mhm.
is not the correct definition for narcissism. It goes so much deeper. And it's a process when they get into your head, the manipulation, it's all an art in a way. And then
Mhm.
when you step away from it and you get out of that situation, that's when you realize, oh my goodness, this is what he was doing. This, he,
Mhm.
and you start putting the pieces together of
Mhm.
what's been going on.
Sure.
And it's scary to think, how you look back on it and you think it was love, but it was really just an act of control.
Mm-hmm. And that
And
and that goes both ways too, because ladies, we don't want to think that this only applies to us, because there are
it
many men
doesn't.
out there that experience the same thing with the narcissistic woman, a controlling, and it's more than just about control. A whole lot of the narcissistic behavior is mind control. It's a game control. And does that mean that they don't love you? No. Mm-mm. Because they do love you, they love themselves more. But
Yeah.
they love you in a way that's very, very unhealthy for both of you.
Yes, and the love that they give you is almost conditional at some point as well. And it's they love you to the point where they just want to keep you to themselves. They don't, like, I noticed that I hadn't seen my friends in like 2 years. I took him out to a club with me. And he was just following me around, and my friends kept coming up to me saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I didn't understand why. They
Mhm.
kept saying it just something seems off. Just something seems, and I'm like, oh, I'm okay. I
Mhm.
remember having to leave that night because he was out in my car saying that he was having withdrawals. So we had to leave and he insisted on driving, and it's stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I remember at work, people kept saying my spark was gone, and I didn't understand what that meant. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm here, I'm smiling, I'm doing the job.
Mhm.
And it took me a while to realize, oh, because I looked back up pictures of myself, and you can tell,
Mhm.
and it really affects everything
Yeah.
about you
Did you
that you
blame
don't.
yourself? Did you think you did something to bring that on yourself?
Yes, I
Mhm.
was surprising you said that. I was actually talking about that in therapy yesterday, that in a way I felt like I was damaged goods because it seems like there's a pattern. I kept getting abused. It didn't matter. And it just kept getting worse, worse and worse. And yeah, I thought it was my fault. And I think what made this last one even more traumatic for me is because I was not only getting gaslit, it was at a point in my life where I met him. I didn't want to be with anybody. It was just kind of a thing that happened. And I fell in love so quickly, I felt like, and then all of a sudden it unraveled
Mhm.
so quickly. And it affected me in ways that I don't think it would have affected me if I was 21, per se.
Mhm.
And it just, I kept thinking it's my fault because no good man would have tried to date me because I have multiple kids, or no good man would try to date me because I'm a single mother with 4 jobs. I don't have time to be with anyone. So I have to settle for this. Even, after I wanted to leave and started kind of falling out of that love pattern, like the
Mm-hmm.
trauma bond, I still didn't want to leave because I thought that's all I was worth.
Mm-hmm. And that's so common when a woman is abused. And audience, you may have heard this before, but abuse comes in so many different forms. It's physical, we know that, but it is mental, it is spiritual, it's financial, it's social. Abuse comes in so many different forms, and it actually makes you feel less of a person than what you are. You almost feel like you are not worth what your worth really is. And so, we get on social media and everybody says know your worth, know your
Yeah, it's
that
easier said than done.
it's easier said than done. Exactly. And you look at somebody like Natasha and how beautiful she is, and you'd say, how do you just let that happen? And it's a gradual thing. Sometimes it's not, but most of the
Yeah.
time it is.
It's also one of those things where um, the outside world may see me as beautiful, but I have to see myself as beautiful as well. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I had to learn too. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
still learning to this day. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to look in the mirror and know my own worth to go out there and know, hey, I deserve more than this man not responding or hiding
Mm-hmm.
me from his family kind of thing. I deserve more than that. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I start working on myself, that's when I can see why this is a trend with me,
Mm-hmm.
why these men keep getting, drawn to me specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting for a woman like yourself that outsiders could see what you were actually trying to hide. Because when we're going through a circumstance, some of us are very good at hiding our circumstances. A lot of women are good at hiding, and men too. Oh, everything's okay, and how's the house, how home life. It's okay when there's
Yeah.
some serious stuff going on at home, and yet you still try to keep your chin up and go ahead and do what you need to do because you have kids to take care of at home, or you have a professional career or image out here that people see you as. And so you had more than one struggle going on in your life.
I did.
Well, the breaking point for you, we already talked about that, was your children, obviously. How did you make the decision to just pick up and leave and kind of make a fresh start for yourself?
That really wasn't in my control, to be honest with
Mhm.
you. Um, my ex before that one, we had gotten a house together, but it was in his name. And we had an agreement that instead of me putting him on child support, he paid the mortgage, which was around the same price, and we'd be fine. Well, he wasn't paying it. He sold the house from up under me. And
Oh.
I ended up having to get out within like a week, lost all of my belongings.
Mm.
So I had to stay with my daughter's father and his parents. That obviously was not ideal. They were dealing with his addiction and his abuse because addiction in itself is crazy.
Mhm.
So being around an addict like that is so hurtful, so traumatic. And I had my kids there and I had to leave. I just had to leave. So I went to a who I thought was a friend. Ended up being even more horrific, to be honest. There was assault there as well. And so one night I said I cannot do this anymore, and I packed up the car and I told everyone, I was like, I'm leaving. And I had no money to my name. I just packed up what we had and I was begging for money for gas. I was like, I'm just trying to get out of Tennessee and make it to Toledo. And I knew my mom lived here, and I was like, that's the most I can do with my circumstances, is either stay here, because I was trying to get into a homeless shelter there, like for a domestic shelter, but they're so full,
Mhm.
So it's like I remember one night we slept in my car. So I came up here to be closer to family and hope that I could find a place to live. I knew the economy was cheaper, and I knew the main thing, I knew with distance, it would help with my healing better, and it would
Mhm.
make sure that I was accountable and that I would not go back. It made it easier for me to stay away. And that
Mm-hmm.
was very important to me because I can say a million times, oh, I'm never going to talk to him again. Oh, I'm never going to have him around my kids again. I've said that many of times. And like you said, I stayed with him, and it was a pattern with
Yeah.
exes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did myself a favor and took myself out of the equation.
Sure.
And I'm
Absolutely.
like hundreds of miles away. And that's
Yeah.
when I started really rebuilding myself.
Mm-hmm. It's heartbreaking to know that the person that you had a child with, the person that you know deep inside you love them, and they change, and it's so hard to walk away from somebody that you love, even though they're an abusive to you. It's still hard to do that. It's like that person is imprinted on you, and it's just
Yes.
so hard to do. And it's still heartbreaking. And now when you get away, like the movie
Yes.
says, you have a chance to exhale and you see what true damage was occurring when you stayed in the relationship. So you made your way to Toledo, thank God.
Yes. Thank
how,
God.
how's your situation now? What's happening in your life now?
Right now, I am in transitional housing here in Toledo. I am currently searching for a job. I got in a horrible car accident. So that set me back a little bit, but I'm searching for a job. I decided to help with my healing journey to make a Facebook page, kind of like a vlog, say you
Hmm.
will, where I put my research and my experiences and I started making videos to help myself and to actually put out there for other people who may not know, hey, it's not your fault. You're not damaged.
Hmm.
You're just surviving. But
Hmm.
surviving isn't living. It's not your fault. But here are some steps
Hmm.
for you to get out of the situation you're in when you're ready, because not
Hmm.
everyone's ready. But I want to put that out there for people to let them know it's not your fault. It's never your fault. But it's understandable. No one, I'm not judging you for staying, but you can and you will survive if you leave. It is
Hmm.
possible to start over again. And I may not be on top of the world. I may not be where I want to be right now, but I'm not there where I
Hmm.
was. And that is baby steps. And I thank God every day that I'm not where I was a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's
And that's the
great. My
first
kids
step,
are
isn't it?
thriving.
The first
Yes.
step is recognition. And the second step is probably getting some therapy.
Which I
Once
am
you
in
come,
therapy, which is
there you
helping.
go. If you can get yourself to a point where you can just get some distance away from the situation, which you did do, the second best thing you did for yourself and your children is to seek out. Are your kids in therapy yet?
My 8-year-old, yes, he is in therapy. My daughter, no, we need
It's just,
therapy from her, to be
yeah.
honest. So.
Yeah, she's the little one to keep you bit. She's therapy all by herself. You're
She
absolutely right.
really
So,
is. She's such a light. They both are. They are really great children. And
hmm.
another thing about my children is they are my everything. Where they
Hmm.
go, I go. So there was never even if someone were to like the fathers were to threat, hey, I'm gonna get custody. Oh, I will fight that.
Hmm.
Even when I was mid mid deep in love, I still kept proof of stuff when it came to my kids. Like in
Hmm.
case this happens, I have proof for the court that you did
Absolutely.
this, and that, so they can't
Yeah,
be taken away from me. And I
absolutely.
remember 2 nights ago, I talked to my son Noah, and I said, "Hey Noah, how would you feel if I ever started dating again?" And he goes, "You can date me." And I was like, well, that's not a thing. We can't do that. That's no. And I said, well, why'd you say that? And he goes, because I never want you to feel pain again. And
Wow.
that was the sweetest, but so sad that
Hmm.
he has seen so much. And he brought up, he said, well, did you date Katie Rose's dad? And I said, yeah. And he's like, did you date my dad? And I said, yeah. So he put that together and
Hmm.
saw that I had pain with those two men. And so he's saying, oh, that's what dating is. I don't want my mommy to do that. So it's
Hmm.
good that I got out of that situation when I did. So, because we had that one on one talk last night, no, that's not how it was supposed to be. Mom stayed too long. That's why we're here. We got away. Like you said, mommy deserves not to feel pain, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're here. I'm working on the steps, and I'm so glad I got out when I did. Hearing him say that just
Mm-hmm.
almost brought tears to my eyes.
And the fact that he said that shows that the therapy is working. The fact that he's
Yes.
able to address it and not keep it inside. He wants to talk about it. So, Natasha, if you were to give some advice to the lady behind you or the young girl coming to you and saying, "Hey, I'm in a situation. What's your advice?" What would be your best advice tips?
My best advice would be to take a step back from the situation in itself and put yourself in someone else's shoes, your friend's shoes, your daughter's shoes, your kid's shoes. Try to. I know it's harder it's easier to say than done. But that's what I did. The second I did that, that's when things started unveiling. And just know that it's baby steps. This is not one of those things where it's just like, oh, I watched this podcast, I can leave right now. No, it's not going to be like that. It's not that easy. It's taken me years and it takes some people days.
Mm-hmm.
But don't put a timeline on it. Just feel it out. Be safe about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Above all, be safe about it and know that you are stronger than you think you are. You don't need any man belittling you. We are women and men have to deal with the same thing as well. I'm not going to put this as one gender because I've seen men get abused. I've seen men in narcissistic relationships. You are better than that. God put us
Mm-hmm.
here. He made us all in his own image. I don't know if you're Christian or not, but that means all of us. So why would we put this man on a pedestal like he is God himself? And what his opinion of us is what? What is it? It means that
Sure.
much. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that you really have to think about and do the
Yeah, you have to do the work, you have to do the research. And so, while Natasha made those very, very good suggestions, I would say, especially
sorry
to
about
you
that. I
young,
put it on do not disturb and
you're
just
fine, you're fine. I
but
wanted to carry out, I want to carry out one of the thoughts that you talked about, for the young women who find themselves, they're looking for love, right?
yes.
And understand. You may not understand this, especially if you're from an abusive background or you've seen abuse around you, but understand that, you know, abuse is not love.
Yes.
Abuse is not love. And if you have somebody that, they're on your phone, who you're talking to, you can't have your friends, you can't this, that, and the third, that is control from a narcissist. Okay. You have one man in your life if he is around, and it's your daddy. Your daddy sets the rules if you're under 21 or 18, you know.
Oh,
and if
my
you're
daddy
and if
set the
you are an
rules until he passed
older,
away.
say that again.
My daddy made the rules till he passed away. So,
There you go. Okay. And even if you are an older woman, okay, and you have children, make sure you know your laws in your city. You may have to go to the extent that you have to get, a restraining order. If you do decide that you have to leave town, make sure that you check with, your ordinances or your laws in your state that you can do that and won't have to be drugged back to Toledo because he's got,
yes,
rights.
yes.
And I'm sure you've checked into all that because Lord
I
knows you don't want to go somewhere and get
actually,
settled in and they come get the kids.
well, you see, I actually prepared for that. Since we were not married, when I had my daughter, I did not put him on the birth certificate. And I told myself, I could fight for this child support right now, or I could make sure we're safe. So he would have to go through extra hoops to prove his paternity to even make
Mhm.
that step. So
There you
I
go.
know it's coming. I'm told he's sober right now, but I know it's going to come one day that he will try to get some rights. But I did put in the protocols for ourselves to make sure we're good before I left. That will not
Hmm.
be any any problem, and I always make sure my babies are okay.
That's right. Babies are number one. Since we
Yes.
say babies are number one, do you see yourself dating again? And you had that talk with your son. Is that something you see in the, foreseeable future?
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
how will you approach it this time? Will you give it some time and maybe check to make sure they're not still having addiction issues?
Oh, most definitely. Most
Hmm.
definitely. I view men differently now. Actually was telling a friend back in Tennessee, I was like, I don't know if it's possible for me to even be attracted to anyone anymore because, I'm just so closed off. But now I think I am able to see those red flags that I didn't see in the beginning, like when he was like, share your location. Kind of a red flag when I'm just saying I'm just going to Walmart. Like what am I going to do with when I have my
Hmm.
son with me as well? Stuff like that. You got to notice the red flags, and I think I should by this time know the red flags and with dating. But yes, I do see myself dating.
What, just for the young ladies out there listening, what were some of the other red flags that you didn't see?
Um, how whenever I wanted to go out with my friends, he insisted on coming along, or he would say he had plans for us, or I couldn't wear certain things without getting a certain comment. He would always be looking over my shoulder when I'm texting, stuff, just small things like that that kind of built and gradually came. He would show up at my work. I remember one time I just went to go pay my phone bill, and I come outside and he's in his car right outside of T-Mobile, passed out high, but he had stalked me there and just passed out there. Like,
Mm.
so
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like because of my story is so unique, like you said, like a movie, that at this point in time I can spot it all. Like I feel like I have that magnet, that meter. I hear it, like
Hmm.
there's been guys that have hit on me now, and I'm just like, all right, sounds good,
Got
whatever.
you. I love that. And I think that folks should know that Natasha has mentioned it, but she does utilize social media to share some very helpful tips. Natasha, what's the name of your platform?
On Facebook, it is Broken But Building. It's new. It's about a month and a half old page, but I post every week. I do my research. I write my own scripts. I'm still working on the video process. I can't do it all fancy yet, but the message is still out there, and it's very close to my heart. It's helping me heal, and I love it. So feel free to follow me. Feel free to message me. I am here to talk no matter what. Like, if
Mhm.
you want to get something out, I'm here.
And say the name one more time on Facebook.
Broken but building.
Broken but building. So it's sort of a personal life's diary that of experiences that she has gone through, and the different means and methods that she has used to overcome some of those hurdles. Now, that doesn't mean she doesn't still have them, obviously, right,
Yes,
Natasha?
yes. I definitely, like I said earlier, don't think it's an overnight process. I'm not where I want to be in life yet, but I'm making my way there. That's why it's broken, but I am building. I'm building to where I want to be, one step at
Hmm.
a time. So
So she didn't lay down and stay down.
I
You
did
know,
not. I refuse. I
that's
got
right.
these babies to take care of.
That's
No way.
right. She couldn't lay down for too long because she got little feet walking all over. So
Yes, especially that little girl. She'll put her hand on me and be like, "Where are you going?" I'm just like,
that's
I'm
right.
just going to the bathroom. Sorry."
That's right. Well, you got knocked down a couple of times, and that happens to us on occasion. And unfortunately, some people get knocked down and they stay down and they wallow in where they are. But you have taken your own circumstances and you're making your way to be stable on your own 2 feet, and that's a beautiful thing. Because not everybody has family to help them, guys.
Yeah,
And some people who do have family, they don't help either.
exactly. And I see all these, like, my exes. They have such huge family support, and I'm over here just like, well, I got the babies. Here I am. I am
Yeah.
getting support from her grandparents, though. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
do appreciate the little bit that's coming my way lately. But
Hmm.
before that, it was hard. And it
Yeah.
still is hard because, like I said, I'm in this town. I know like maybe a handful of people, so it's
Hmm.
hard. But
Yeah.
like I said, I have my babies, and I don't intend on staying down, and that's
Mhm.
important because I did wallow in pity quite a few times. And,
Mhm.
sometimes we get so into the victim mindset that we stay in it and we wallow in it, and it just makes things worse. It doesn't make
Hmm.
things better. It wasn't
Hmm.
until, I spontaneously put everything in my car and made that drive and didn't look back that I was able to start the healing process, because I was like, okay, I need to get out of this bed and
Absolutely.
make this happen.
Hmm. So, isn't it nice though that you've opened up your page and you've allowed people to follow your story? And isn't it nice if someone were to get on your page and give a comment of encouragement? They may not be a personal friend right now, but we can all be, if we're Facebook friends, as we say. Sometimes it's just good to see or hear a person say, "Hey, how's your mental today? Hey,
That's
how's things
beautiful.
going for?" And that just helps. There's no real reason for people. Well, I guess there is. I'm not going to say that, but if we're in a position to say, "Hey, how you doing? Thinking about you today. Hope everything is okay." Sometimes that encouragement means everything.
It really does. And a lot of people don't realize that. For me, for instance, a lot of people have no idea what I was going through when I was going through it. And I'm talking
Hmm.
about people in the same city as me, my best friends. They didn't know until actually I started making these videos,
Hmm.
and they watched them. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." Oh my gosh, a story after story. And I'm like, yes,
Sure.
yes. So yeah, reaching out and being like, "Hey, are you okay?" Instead of just being like, "Oh, you're so strong." I want to be like, "You have no idea, like
Hmm.
just how strong." And some people are just tired of being strong. They want
Right.
someone to come in and be the shoulder to lean on, or someone to
Hmm.
talk to,
Sure.
and they don't get it.
That's right. And that's men or women. But just make sure when you're trying to be a shoulder to cry on, that's all it is.
Yeah, yes, please.
That's if you are genuine about your intentions. And a lot of times we have to see that, and that's the hardest part to see, is what people's real intentions are. And so you're making your way there.
Yes,
I would like to encourage everyone to support Natasha's page. Encourage her, drop a line every now and then and say, "Hey, how's your mental? How you
I would
doing?"
appreciate that, yes.
There you go. She's got it. And if you're outside of Toledo and you're experiencing some type of domestic violence, there is a domestic hotline number you can't call. It's 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-799-7233. Call the number and see if you can get help in your local area. That's the 1-800 number. The thing is at some point, you've got to wake up. You've got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get up from being knocked down.
Yes, that is
So,
so accurate.
and we'd like to thank you, Natasha, for sharing your story. I'd like to have you back on the show a little later on to see how things are going on with you, how
Oh,
things are
most
going with
definitely.
you. I'm sorry, I'd love to have you on. You are a beautiful person inside out. And I knew that from the first day I met you, which is why I had to have you come tell your story, because you're a hard working, fighting girl. I'm telling you, and to do it with children is absolutely amazing. And you're doing a great job. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. That means the world to me. It really does. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We are at the 7:39 hour. Excuse me, yeah, 6:39. I forgot to set daylight savings time, didn't I? 6:39. And thank you for joining, Brenda. Appreciate you. It's a very heartwarming story today. I had to have it. She's an easy conversation, and she's so truthful and just very easy to listen to. Sometimes when people give us advice, it's like the ear turns off, but Natasha is very easy to listen to because she's just truthful. And so that being said, we're going to go ahead and say good night to everyone. We will see you again. I'd like to thank my Facebook listeners, my Instagram listeners, my folks over at YouTube, as well as Roku. Thank you all for joining us. And please, again, if you need help, call the Violence Assistance Program, Domestic Violence Assistance Program, at the number that I gave you, or you can call your local number as well. But by all means, do reach out for the help, because it's there for you, and get your life started again.
Yes.
All right. All right. You guys have a good night. Natasha, thank you. I appreciate you,
Thank
love, and we will
you.
talk again soon. Take care,
Okay.
everyone. All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.